Hi everybody, welcome back to Icelandic for Foreigners. My name is Brian. In this video, we are going to go through the first chapter of an Icelandic children's book. And we're going to kind of talk about the different grammar principles that we see in the chapter, talk about the vocabulary and what it means. I'm hoping that this will be helpful. The book is called Allt Getur Gerst. It is an electronic book that you can access online. I'll place the link in the description. It is a free book to access. It was written by Auður Jónsdóttir. And I guess there are a couple ways that this video could potentially be helpful to you. You may want to just pause the video now and follow the link and go and read the book or read the first chapter before we even get into it, and you can kind of see what you understand, what's confusing to you, and come back to the video with your questions. That's one way that you could approach it. Another way you could do it is if you just want to, without reading it ahead of time, just watch this video through and kind of get a sense for Icelandic and how it works. That also makes perfect sense. It just kind of depends on what your learning style is, but I'm hoping that it's going to be helpful. On the right side here, we are going to look at the book, and I'm going to try to zoom in so that you can see it better. On the left side over here I'm going to write down some of the vocabulary that we're learning, especially writing down the dictionary forms. That way you can go look them up and kind of figure out how they work later if you want to. So reading can be really helpful. It can be a really helpful activity. This is a children's book. I read it a couple hours ago before deciding to make this video, and there were several words that I had to look up, and I've been learning Icelandic for 12 years. So it's a very helpful activity, and words that you learn in context tend to stick better. So hopefully it'll be a helpful exercise. Okay, starting with chapter 1. We're just going to read the one chapter today. I'm going to read this first page through, and then I'm going to go through it by line or by paragraph. Slæm máltíð. Pabbi sagði mér fréttirnar við matarborðið. Við flytjum eftir mánuð. Hvert, spurði ég furðulostin. Til Danmerkur, svaraði hann og brosti til mömmu. Matti bróðir hló í barnastólnum. Hann skvetti skýri á borðið. Mig langaði að skvetta skýri á pappa. Þetta voru hræðilegar fréttir. Okay, so starting at the beginning. Slæm máltíð. That means a bad meal. By the way, the title of this book, Allt Getur Gerst, means anything can happen, which doesn't give us much of a clue as to what this book is going to be about. Okay, slæm máltíð, a bad meal. Pappi sagði mér fréttirnar við matarborðið. So this translates to Dad told me the news at the dinner table. So sagði is the past tense of the verb segja, which means to say or to tell. You'll notice that it's followed by mér, which is the dative form of me. When you're using the verb segja, the person that you're saying the thing to is always in the dative case. It's called the indirect object, and so here segja is going to be followed by mér, or in this case sagði mér. So fréttirnar means the news. Frétt is a feminine word meaning news, a piece of news. Fréttir is the word for news, plural, and then fréttirnar is the word for the news. That's the ending at the end. Nar means the. So frétt is the base word meaning news. Matarborðið, which in its dictionary form would just be matarborð, means the dinner table, or the food table is what it technically means. You could also say just við borðið, but matarborðið is more specific. It just lets you know that the characters are eating. Okay, so what did Pappi say? Við flytjum eftir mánuð. That means we are moving in a month, or literally we move in a month. So flytjum is the present tense, a við form of, að flytja, which means to move. Eftir mánuð, so the word is mánuður, which means a month. I have an entire video about talking about time with the word eftir. When we want to say that something is happening after a certain amount of time, or in English we say in a month, you use the preposition efter, which is followed by accusative. So mánuð is the accusative form of mánuður, which means month. Okay. Hvert spurði ég furðu lostin. Hvert, it means to where. It is the directional form of the word for where, which is hvar. So when we want to say to where, we say hvert. There's three words. There's hvert, hvar, and hvaðan, which mean to where, and from where. So hvert spurði ég furðu lostin. Sorry, I should tell you what that means. It means to where, I asked, puzzled. So spurði ég, that is the past tense of spyrja, which means to ask. Furðu lostin is kind of a phrase, a noun or like an adjective phrase, which means struck with amazement or struck with wonder. And it's kind of how you say that you're like confused, like you're puzzled. Also notice here the inversion. Spurði ég. Whenever our subject and verb aren't at the beginning of the sentence, a lot of the time we have what's called inversion. So because we're starting off our sentence here with a question word, hvert, we're gonna have to flip the subject and the verb. Okay. Til Danmerkur svaraði hann og brosti til mömmu. So to Denmark, he answered and smiled at mom. I encourage you to go look up the word Danmörk. That is the dictionary form for the word for Denmark. It is a feminine word, and it has a very interesting pattern as far as its bendings or its different forms. So go look it up. In this case, we're talking about the genitive form, Danmerkur, because it's following the word til, which means to, and it always is followed by a genitive noun. Okay, so til Danmerkur svaraði hann. So there's the inversion again, because it's not at the hann svaraði is not at the beginning of the sentence, so we're switching it. That means he answered. The verb is að svara, to answer. And then og brosti til mömmu, and he smiled at mom. So brosa means to smile. It is a DTV verb, so it takes a TI in the past tense. All right. Matti bróðir hló í barnastólnum. Hann skvetti skyri á borðið. Mig langaði að skvetta skyri á pappa. So Matti bróðir, so my brother Matti laughed in his baby chair, or in his high chair. He sprayed skyr onto the table. I wanted to spray skyr at dad. So breaking it down, Matti bróðir, that's the way that you would say brother Matti. Hló is the past tense of the verb að hlæja, to laugh. And it's a very interesting conjugation. It's quite abnormal. So go check it out, go look it up. But the past tense is hló, which is, well, at least that's the past tense for hann and hún. Very interesting. Barnastóll is the base form, barnastóll, for a child's chair. We're looking at the dative form here because he's in the chair. It's static, there's not movement. Go look at my video about dative, about prepositions, whether they're followed by dative or accusative. Okay, skvetti is the past tense of skvetta, which means to spray or to like spill, kind of splash. I had to look this word up. I didn't know it. So it just goes to show. There's always new words to be learned. You'll notice that it's followed by the dative form of skyr. So skyr that's the yogurt stuff, right? That they love in Iceland. It's quite good. Skvetta is followed by a dative a noun, and there's no real reason why, it just is. And that's why in my video where I talk about cases, Icelandic cases and how they work, it's to some extent it's just arbitrary. When you squirt a liquid at something, it's in dative. Okay, mig langaði að skvetta skyri á pappa. So mig langaði, that is the imperfect verb construction, or sorry, I said imperfect verb, that's wrong. Impersonal verb construction. So mig langaði means I wanted, but it's saying, it's like somebody else is wanting for me. Mig langaði. So we use the accusative, impersonal verb. Go check out my video on impersonal verbs. That's some confusing stuff sometimes, so go check it out. Að skvetti skyri á pappa. you'll notice that pappa and borðið are both an accusative, and it's because we're spraying something at something, which means there's movement, so we're going to use the accusative instead of the dative. Okay, last line on the page. Þetta voru hræðilegar fréttir. This was terrible news. Fréttir is basically always in plural in Icelandic. So that's why even though this is like one piece of news, you don't ever really say frétt in Icelandic. That's very uncommon. So even though we're talking about one piece of news, we still use the plural, fréttir. Hræðilegur means terrible. Hræðilegar fréttir, that's those are two feminine, fréttir is a feminine plural word, so we're going to use hræðilegar, which is the feminine plural nominative form of hræðilegur. Okay, on to the next page. Okay, I'm going to read the page through. Hvers vegna, tautaði ég. Við mamma höfum fengið vinnu í Danmörku. Ég gretti mig. Það gaman í Danmörku, svo þú skalt ekki vera leið, sagði mamma. Mér var alveg sama. Ég vildi vera á Íslandi með vinum mínum. Í sumarfríinu ætluðum við að gista í tjaldi í garðinum heima hjá Díti vinkonu. Við vorum að klára 12 ára bekk. Reyndar var aðeins mánuður eftir af skólanum. Það þýddi að ég gæti ekki gist í tjaldinu. Ég yrði í Danmörku. Okay. Starting at the top. Hvers vegna, tautaði ég. So hvers vegna, that means why. For what reason. It's another way of saying af hverju. There's a little bit of nuance between the two, but for the most part, they're pretty similar meaning. So hvers vegna means because of what. So hvers vegna is similar to af hverju. Að tauta, that means to mumble, or like to mutter, like to talk softly, like when you're upset. Okay, við mamma höfum fengið vinnu í Danmörku. So you'll notice this construction, við mamma. That is the way to say, so this means your mother and I have found work in Denmark, or have gotten work in Denmark. So við mamma, that is the way in Icelandic that you would say your mother and I. You say we mother. So anytime you want to say that you and somebody else does something, you say við and then the other person who's doing it. So við bróðir minn viljum fara til Íslands. My brother and I want to go to Iceland. Okay, við höfum fengið. Fengið is the past participle of fá. This is the present perfect construction. We have received. Vinnu, that is the accusative form of vinna, which means work. The word fá, the thing that you get, is always an accusative. So here we have vinnu. And í Danmörku, there's another form of the word Danmark. Again, I recommend going and looking it up because it's got some funny forms. Okay, ég gretti mig. So að gretta sig means to frown, to show your unhappiness on your face. So ég gretti mig is the past tense and also the present tense of I frown or I frowned. In this case, we know from context, I frowned, because this whole story is in past tense. Okay. Það gaman í Danmörku, so þú skalt ekki vera leið, sagði mamma. It is fun in Denmark, so you mustn't be sad, Mom said. So gaman, that is a very important word in Icelandic. It means fun, and it is used all the time. Like in the phrase, gaman að hitta þig, nice to meet you, or fun to meet you. Gaman is used every day. So make sure that if you learn any word from this, you should learn that one. Okay, í Danmörku, so it's fun in Denmark, so þú skalt ekki vera leið. This is like a kind of a command form, right? It's saying you shouldn't be sad because it's going to be fun. So skalt, that's the verb skulu, which is an auxiliary verb which means shall. So this is saying you shall not be. Leiður means sad. So leiður is the masculine form and leið is the feminine form because our character here is female. Okay, sagði mamma. So there's the inversion again, you see, because this is coming at the end of the sentence, not at the beginning. So instead of saying mamma sagði, mom said, we say said mom, and we switch it. All right. Mér var alveg sama. Ég vildi vera á Íslandi með vinum mínum. So, I didn't care. I wanted to be in Iceland with my friends. Mér var alveg sama is a great phrase. It means, to me, it was completely the same, and it sounds funny, but that is the way you say, I don't care. To me, it's all the same. That's a pretty important phrase to learn, so you'll notice that it's the dative. It's kind of like an impersonal dative thing. So if you wanted to say he didn't care, you would say honum var alveg sama. You can also say it in the present tense. Honum alveg sama. Sorry, I wrote alvega. It should just be alveg. He doesn't care. So, mér var alveg sama means I didn't care. Ég vildi vera á Íslandi. I wanted to be in Iceland. Vildi is the past tense of vilja, to want. And vera á Íslandi. Íslandi is, of course, the dative form of Ísland. To be in Iceland, this is again following the preposition I, in, or á, on. It's either going to be followed by an accusative word or a dative word. And because we're not talking about motion to Iceland, we're going to use dative, which is Íslandi. And then með vinum mínum, that is, vinum is the dative plural of vinur, which means friend. So with my friends, and that's also in dative. That's the dative form. Okay. Í sumarfríinu ætluðum við að gista í tjaldi í garðinum heima hjá Díti vinkonu. In the summer break, we were going to stay in a tent in the garden or in the yard at my friend Didi's house, my female friend Didi's house. Okay, so í sumarfríinu. Sumarfrí means summer break or summer free, summer break. So we're going to use the dative form. In the summer break, ætluðum við means we were going to. Ætla means intend to. I have an entire video just on using the word ætla. It is a critical word in everyday speech. And here we have that inversion again. Í sumarfríinu ætluðum við að gista. Gista, it's already written in the infinitive form. It means to stay over or to be a guest somewhere. So gista í tjaldi. Tjald is a neuter word meaning tent. Í garðinum, that is the dative form of garður, which means garden. So in the garden, we use dative because it's following I, and there's no movement. Heima hjá Díti vinkonu. So going to the end of the sentence, kind of, vinkona means female friend, not girlfriend, just a friend who is female. Heima hjá means at the home of or at somebody's place, kind of like in French when you say chez moi, like at my place, like at my house. So heima hjá Díti. Okay. Við vorum að klára 12 ára bekk. Reyndar var aðeins mánuður eftir af skólanum. Það þýddi að ég gæti ekki gist í tjaldinu. Ég yrði í Danmörku. So we had just finished the 12-year-old class. Við vorum að klára. We were about to finish the 12-year-old class. In fact, there was just 1 month left of school, which means that I wouldn't be able to go sleep in the tent. I would be in Denmark. So here's the grammar behind this. Við vorum að klára. That means we were about to finish, basically. Við vorum að klára. It's like we were at the end of, or about to finish. So klára means to finish. So við vorum að klára, we were about to finish. 12 ára bekk. So 12 is 12. Ára is the genitive plural form of ár, which means year. And bekkur means class. So 12 ára bekkur means the class of 12-year-olds. Reyndar means actually. Var aðeins, only. Mánuður, there's that word again, mánuður, month, a month. Eftir af skólanum. So to say that there's something eftir means that there's something left or something remaining. So aðeins mánuður eftir means only 1 month left. Af skólanum, of school. And that's the dative singular form of skóli, school. Av, the preposition av, is always followed by the dative, which is what skólanum is. Okay, það þýddi að ég gæti ekki gist í tjaldinu. So þýddi is the past tense of þýða, to mean. That meant. Það þýddi að ég gæti ekki gist í tjaldinu. That I couldn't. Gæti is the past subjunctive form of að geta. to be able to. Go look at my video about the past subjunctive. That's some pretty confusing stuff. I don't want to spend the whole video talking about it, but I would be able to. That meant that I wouldn't be able to. Gist. There's that verb again, gista, to stay. But we're going to use the past participle because it's following the word geta. And geta is followed by the past participle, which is one of the very interesting quirks about Icelandic. Okay, this last sentence, ég yrði í Danmörku. I would be in Denmark. Yrði is the past subjunctive of verða, so it means I would be. I would be in Denmark. Okay, going over to the next page. Ég var búin að missa listina en mamma og pappi hámuðu matinn í sig. Þau voru yfir sig ánægð að hafa fengið vinnu á dönskum spítala. Gaman fyrir ykkur, fussaði ég og ýtti matnum frá mér. Mér leiðast spítalar. Það frekar slæmt því þau eru bæði læknar. Okay, so first line, ég var búin að missa listina en mamma og pappi hámuðu matinn í sig. So I had lost my appetite, but mom and dad were shoveling the food in. So ég var búin. Búin is such an important word. I have an entire video just about using búin. It's like past tense. It means like to be done with something. Also, we use it to talk about something that just occurred. So ég var búin að missa means I had just lost, and then list means appetite. Matarlist, my food desire. List just kind of means desire, but in this context it means I lost my appetite. So I had just lost my appetite, but mom and dad, hauma. I had to look this word up too. Hauma is like to shove food in. So hámuðu matinn, matur, food, í sig, into themselves. Into themselves. Okay, þau voru yfir sig ánægð að hafa fengið vinnu á dönskum spítala. They were over the moon, or very happy to have obtained work in a Danish hospital. So þau voru, they were, yfir sig, over themselves, ánægður is a great word that means pleased or happy. So þau, that's neuter plural, so ánægð is the correct form. Okay, so they were pleased to have received work á dönskum spítala. So danskur spítali would mean a Danish hospital, and á, we're going to follow it with dative, so á dönskum, that's the dative form of danskur, the masculine form, and spítali becomes spítala, which is the dative form. So, in a Danish hospital. Gaman fyrir ykkur, fussaði ég og ýtti matnum frá mér. There's that word again, gaman, fun for you. I fussed and pushed the food from me. So gaman fyrir ykkur, fun for you. Fussa is like to whine or to fuss. And there's that inversion. Og ýtti, that's the past tense of ýta, which means to push. So ýtti matnum frá mér. So I pushed the food from me. Mér leiðast spítalar. Það frekar slæmt því þau eru bæði læknar. Mér leiðast spítalar. So the whole thing means I don't like hospitals, which is rather bad because they are both doctors. So mér leiðast, there's another impersonal verb. Leiðast is to be something that's not interesting or that you don't appreciate. So mér leiðast spítalar. Spítalar is hospitals. That is the actual subject of the sentence. They are boring to me, or I don't like them. Það frekar slæmt. So frekar means rather, or quite. Því, that is a shortened form of því að, which means because. So sometimes you can just say því, because. They are both bæði læknar. And the word is læknir, doctor, læknir. Next page. Spítalar eru kaldir og gráir eins og draugahús. Allir vinir mínir hafa bara farið einu sinni á spítala, flestir til að láta taka úr sér kirtla. Díti var með of stóra nefkirtla, Bjössi var með of stóra hárskirtla. Ég með mátulega kirtla, samt hef ég oft farið á spítala. Alltaf til að hitta mömmu og pappa. ég kveið fyrir að fara á stóran spítala í útlöndum. Spítala þar sem ég þyrfti að tala dönsku. Ég hafði bara lært dönsku í 1 vetur í skólanum. Það var ekki gaman. Okay, so starting at the top. Spítalar, there it is again, hospitals, eru kaldir, are cold and grey like a haunted house or a ghost house. Kaldur means cold. Kaldir is the masculine plural form because spítalar is masculine plural. Grár means grey. Eins og, like, similar to. And then draugahús, that's the combination of 2 words, draugur and hús. Draugur means ghost and draugahús means a house of ghosts. Okay, allir vinir mínir hafa bara farið einu sinni á spítala. So allir, here's vinir again, we've seen that, that's the plural form of vinur. So all my friends have only gone once to the hospital. Most of them to have a gland removed, which is kind of a funny way to say it. We'll look at that more in a second. So allir vinir mínir, all of my friends, hafa bara farið, so bara, right, just, only, farið, gone, einu sinni, one time, and that's just kind of a set phrase, one time, einu sinni, sorry I spelled it wrong. It's a dative phrase, one time, it's just the way you say it. They've only gone once to the hospital. Flestir means most of. Flestir til að láta taka úr sér kirtla. That's such a hard word to say. Kirtla, which is the, I guess it's the accusative plural form of kirtil, which means gland. Don't worry, I also had to look that word up. So most of them to have taken out of them a kirtil, a gland. So diti, so this next sentence, diti var með of stóra nefkirtla, Bjössi var með of stóra hárskirtla, ég með mátulega kirtla, samt hef ég oft farið á spítala, alltaf til að hitta mömmu og pappa. So Diti had too big of a nasal gland. Bjössi had too big of a neck gland, which is a tonsil. I have an appropriately sized gland, but I have had to go often to the hospital, always to meet mom and dad. So Diti var með of stóra, so of, too big, of stór, too big. So in this case we're using the accusative plural form nev, right? That's nose. So nev kirtla or nev kirtla is going to be a nasal gland. Bjössi var með of stóra hálskirtla. So háls, that is the word for throat or neck, throat. And that's the word for tonsil. Ég með mátulega kirtla. So mátulegur means appropriate or like appropriately sized. So he's saying, I don't have any issues with my glands, but I have to go to the hospital. And also just notice the form here, ég með. When you're talking about body parts and you want to say I have a body part, you say ég með. Ég með blá augu, right? I have blue eyes. So apparently also when you're talking about kirtil, a gland, you also say ég með. Okay, that next sentence, samt hef ég oft farið á spítala. Samt means, I can't even spell. Samt means regardless, or even so, or just but. I have oft had to go to the hospital. There's the inversion, samt hef ég. You could also say ég hef samt. So if you start the sentence with the subject and the verb, then you say ég hef samt. But if you start the sentence with samt, then you have the inversion. Alltaf, always, to meet, hitta, mömmu og pappa. Ég kveið fyrir að fara á stóran spítala í útlöndum. Spítala þar sem ég þyrfti að tala dönsku. So ég kveið, kvíða, means to be nervous about something. Kveið, fyrir að fara. That's like that feeling in your stomach when you feel sick because you're nervous or anxious. So ég kveið fyrir að fara. I was nervous about going to a large hospital abroad or in a different country. A hospital where I would have to speak Danish. So ég kveið fyrir að fara á stóran spítala. So stór spítali, there it is. A big hospital. We're going to use the accusative form because we're going á. We're going to the big hospital. Á stóran spítala. So the stóran spítala, that is the accusative form. Í útlöndum. So útlöndum, that's kind of like a set phrase a little bit. Í útlöndum means abroad. Or to go, you can also say til útlanda. Landa. To go abroad. To the outlands, right? Like Outlander. Okay. Spítala, þar sem ég þyrfti að tala dönsku. So to go, we're continuing the sentence, to a hospital, þar sem, where, ég þyrfti, that is the past subjunctive of þurfa. I would need að tala dönsku, to speak Danish. Danska is the language, Danish. Ég hafði bara lært dönsku í einn vetur í skólanum. Það var ekki gaman. So I had only learned Danish for one winter in school and it was not fun. So ég hafði, that is the past tense of hafa. I had only lært, that is the past participle of læra. I had learned, right? Lært dönsku. Í einn vetur. I have an entire video about using í to talk about a period of time. When you want to say that you do something for a space of time, you use í. So í einn vetur means for one winter, or for the space of time of one winter. And it's followed by the accusative. Einn vetur, that is the accusative for one winter. Í skólanum, in school. Það var ekki gaman. There's the word again. Gaman, it was not fun. Okay, next page. Ég vildi miklu frekar gista í tjaldi með Díti, Bjössa og Kára. Við ætluðum að kveikja bál, grilla pylsur og vaka alla nóttina. Bjössi og Kári voru skemmtilegustu strákarnir í bekknum. Díti var meira að segja skotin í Kára. Ég var ekki skotin í neinum, en ég hlakkaði til að gista í tjaldi. So, ég vildi miklu frekar gista í tjaldi með Díti, Bjössa og Kára. I would much rather have stayed in a tent with Díti, Bjössa and Kári. So ég vildi, there it is again, past tense of vilja, I wanted. Miklu frekar, much more. Miklu frekar. This is kind of I probably should do a video on this. When you're talking about something being more than something else, so like bigger, and you want to say much bigger, you have to use the dative form of much, which is miklu. I probably should make a video about that, but miklu frekar means much more preferably. So I would much prefer to gista, there it is again, stay over in a tent with Díti, Bjössa og Kára. Við ætluðum, there's the ætla again, we intended to kveikja bál, to start a fire, and grill, or I guess like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like to cook hot dogs and stay up all night. So kveikja bál, bál is the word for fire. Grilla, notice, grilla, we don't say gritla. It's one of the very few words in Icelandic with the double L where we don't say tla, we say grilla. It means to grill or to, why am I forgetting the really basic word here? But yeah, I like to cook over a fire, right? Roast, there it is. Grilla pilsur, pilsa, that is a hot dog or like a sausage. Or vaka, that's a fun word. Vaka means to stay up, to not go to sleep. Vaka alla nóttina, that is all night, and that is in the accusative. We're talking about a time span, and it's kind of a set phrase. Alla nóttina means all the night. Bjössi og Kári voru skemmtilegustu strákarnir í bekknum. So Bjössi and Kári were the funnest boys in the class. So skemmtilegur means fun. Skemmtilegastur means the funnest, and here we're using the weak form of the plural. That's pretty confusing stuff. Skemmtilegustu, the funnest. Strákarnir, strákur is boy, so strákar is boys. Strákarnir is the boys. Í bekknum, there's that word again, bekkur, meaning class. Díti var meira að segja skotin í Kára. So Didi was even had a crush on Kári. Meira að segja means even, or like in addition. And then skotin. So skotin with two N's for a male and skotin with one N for a female. Skotin means, technically it means shot. But when you say skotin I, it means you have a crush on, or you are interested in. It's kind of like a cute way to say it. Ég var ekki skotin í neinum, en ég hlakkaði til að gista í tjaldi. So I didn't have a crush on anyone, but I was looking forward to staying in a tent. So there it is again, skotin. Ég var ekki skotin. I did not have a crush. I was not shot by anybody. You get it, right? I didn't have a crush on anybody. That is, neitt is the word for, if you say ekki neitt, that means nobody. So in this case, we're saying ekki neinum because we use skotin I followed by the dative, and neinum is the dative form. Okay, en ég hlakkaði til að gista. Hlakka, að hlakka til. That means to look forward to something. And then there it is again, to stay in a tent. See, we're already seeing so many of these words again. So some of these words are really going to stick with you, I hope. Like tjald. We've seen that so many times now. So even if you didn't know it when we started, you probably know it by now. Okay, I'll read this page through. Ég varð að grípa til minna ráða. Annars myndi allt fara í kalda kol. Og ég fékk hugmynd. Ég ætlaði að fara í verkfall. Í verkfallinu myndi ég læsa mig inn í herbergi. Ég myndi ekki opna dyrnar fyrr en þau hættu við að flytja. Bara sitja á rúminu mínu og láta þau grátbiðja mig að koma út. Ég sá þau í anda, standa við hurðina og hrópa, elsku Magga, viltu fyrirgefa okkur? Við erum alveg hætt við að flytja. Fyrirgefðu, við vorum vittlaus að ætla að gera þér þetta. Skottheld hugmynd. Okay, back to the top. Ég varð að grípa til minna ráða. So I had to take action, otherwise everything would go really poorly. So ég varð, that is the past tense of verða, to become. But I made a video about the word verða. It has a lot of meanings, and one of them is to must, to have to do something. So ég varð, I had to, I needed to. Grípa til minna ráða. It's a set phrase. It's an expression. Grípa technically means to catch or to grab something. Ráðin mín means like my faculties or like my resources. So grípa til minna ráða, it's just a set phrase. I needed to take action, like I needed to amass or like arouse my faculties, I guess is what you might say in English. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to say in English, but it's common in Icelandic. Okay. Annars myndi allt fara í kalda kol. So annars means otherwise. Myndi is the past subjunctive of munu, and it's a general word for to mean would. Otherwise, everything would go. So allt fara, everything would go í kalda kol. Kol means coal, like the word coal, like the black stuff. So kalda kol, it would go to cold coal, which is how you say it's going to go really poorly. Okay, og ég fékk hugmynd, and I had an idea. Ég ætlaði að fara í verkfall. I would go on a strike. So let's talk about that. Ég fékk. Fékk is the past tense of fá, again, to receive. And hugmynd is an idea. So I got an idea. Ég ætlaði að fara í verkfall. Ætla, I intended to go on a strike. Verkfall. A break from work. Í verkfallinu myndi ég læsa mig inn í herbergi. Ég myndi ekki opna dyrnar fyrr en þau hættu við að flytja. So during the strike, I would lock myself into a room, and I wouldn't open the door until they stopped wanting to move. So í verkfallinu, there's the word verkfall again, in the strike, and we're using the dative form. Myndi ég læsa mig inn. So myndi, there it is again, I would. Læsa means to lock. So læsa mig, to lock myself. Inni. That's inni means inside. Í herbergi. Ég myndi, I would not. Ég myndi ekki. Opna, that means to open. Dyrnar, the door, which in Icelandic is often a plural word. Dyrnar, the doors. I think it's from back in the days when the doors had two sides. So when you're talking about a door in Icelandic, when you use the word dyr, you're talking about plural. It's just one of those things. Fyrr en, before they, or sorry, fyrr en, sorry, it means until. So like previously then. So when you say, I wouldn't open the door previously then, what you're actually saying is, I wouldn't open the door until something happened. Fyrr en. Þau hættu. The word is hætta. Hætta. To quit. Hætta við, to stop. Hætta við að flytja. To stop moving. Bara sitja á rúminu mínu og láta þau grátbiðja mig að koma út. So just sit on my bed and let them beg me to come out. So bara sitja, just sit, á rúminu mínu. So room means bed, rúminu mínu, that's the dative form, on my bed, because it's following á. So we say á rúmi, on a bed, the dative form, á rúminu mínu, on my bed. Og láta þau grátbiðja mig. So I mean the best translation for this is, and have them beg me, grátbiðja. Grát means cry and biðja means ask, and you put them together and it means to cry asking, and that's how you say to beg. So let them beg me to come out, að koma út. Ég sá þau í anda standa við hurðina og hrópa. I saw them in spirit standing by the door and shouting. So ég sá þau, that's the past tense of sjá. I saw. Sjá is see. Í anda means in spirit, which I guess in this it's just saying like I could imagine it, right? Standa, stand, við hurðina. Here's the other word for door, hurð, which is a feminine noun that is singular. So that one is singular, unlike dyr, which is plural. So standing at the door or the doorway, and hrópa, and yell. Elsku Magga, viltu fyrirgefa okkur? Við erum alveg hætt við að flytja. Fyrirgefðu, við vorum vittlaus að ætla að gera þér þetta. So, beloved or dear Magga, will you forgive us? We have stopped trying to move. We're sorry, we were crazy for trying to do this to you. So, elsku Magga, elsku means dear or beloved. Magga is the name of our character. This is the first time we've heard it. It's usually that's a shortening for like Margrét or something like that. Viltu fyrirgefa okkur? So viltu, that is vilt, it means you want. So viltu, will you? And then fyrirgefa means to forgive. And then that is followed by the dative. So fyrirgefa okkur. Við erum alveg hætt. Alveg, we are totally hætt. That is the adjective form for the word hætta. So hættur would maybe be the dictionary form for masculine. I have stopped. I am someone who has stopped. And hætt would be the plural neuter form. So we have totally stopped moving. Fyrirgefðu, forgive. That's the command form. Fyrirgefðu is again fyrirgefa, but the command form. Við vorum vittlaus. We were crazy. We were without our senses. We were unreasonable. Að ætla að gera þér þetta. So, ætla, there it is again, to intend, to do. Gera means to do. Þér, to you, this. To do this to you. Okay, skothelt hugmynd, like a perfect idea. Or skothelt, more like airtight. You might say in English, like there's no issues with this idea. Okay, we're getting close. Ég lét til skarar skríða á meðan mamma og pappi horfðu á fréttirnar. Fyrst náði ég í bakpoka og síðan læddist ég inn í eldhús. Þar setti ég mat í bakpokan. Loks laumaðist ég inn í herbergi, læsti dyrunum og tók matinn upp úr bakpokanum. Þetta var algjört hollustu fæði. So, at the top, ég lét til skarar skríða á meðan mamma og pappi horfðu á fréttirnar. I went into action while mom and dad were watching the news. So, ég lét til skarar skríða. This is another expression. Að láta til skarar skríða. Skríða technically means to crawl. And skör means like to the edge. So like að láta til skarar skríða literally means to let it crawl to the edge, and that's how you say like to put something into action. Lét is the past tense of láta for ég. Á meðan, that means while somebody was doing something. Mamma og pappi horfðu, that is the past tense of að horfa, which is what you use when you're talking about watching the TV, a movie. And fréttirnar, we've already seen that word, the news. Fyrst náði ég í bakpoka og síðan læddist ég inn í eldhús. Þar setti ég mat í bakpokan. So first, I got my backpack and then I snuck into the kitchen and I put food into the backpack. So fyrst náði ég í bakpoka. So að ná í means to go grab something or to fetch something. Að ná í. So ég náði í, but we have inversion. Fyrst náði ég í bakpoka. The word is bakpoki, which means backpack. Og síðan, and then, after that, síðan, then, læddist ég. So læðast means to sneak. Læddist ég, I snuck in í eldhús. That's the kitchen. Þar, there, setti ég. That's the past tense of setja, to set down, to put down. I set down food, or I put food in the backpack. Bakpokan, that is the accusative form, because we're saying í bakpokan. We're putting it in. There's movement, so we use the accusative form of bakpoki. Loks laumaðist ég inn í herbergi, læsti dyrunum og tók matinn upp úr bakpokanum. So loks means finally, or last of all. Laumaðist, so að laumast, it's kind of like to sneak in again. I snuck into the room, herbergi. Að læsa, we've already seen that verb. Læsa means to lock. I locked the doors, dyrunum. So here's the word dyr again, and you can tell that it's plural. Dyrunum. I locked the door, even though it's a plural word. We're just describing one door. Og tók matinn, taka, to take. I took the food up out of the backpack. Upp úr, up out of. Þetta var algjört hollustufæði. This was a great meal, or like this was very healthy food. Hollustu means health, or it can mean a couple things, but in this context, healthy. Fæði, it's kind of a word for food. This is great food. Okay. Grænar baunir í dós, sker í dollu, 2 epli og djús. Meira hafði ekki komist í bakpokan. Ég settist á rúmið og raðaði matnum í kringum mig. Þarna ætlaði ég að vera þar til þeim snerist hugur. Jafnvel þótt ég kláraði nestið og myndi svelta dögum saman. So, grænar baunir í dós, sker í dollu, 2 epli og djús. Peas in a can, sker in a carton, 2 apples and juice. So grænar baunir, that is the word for peas, even though it literally means green beans, which is descriptive. In English we also say green beans to mean string beans. That's different. Grænar baunir, peas í dós, that's a can. Sker í dollu, dolla is also kind of like a can, it's like a container. 2 epli, 2 apples. 2 is the neuter form of tveir. So we have tveir, becomes tvær in feminine form, and 2 in neuter form, 2. Epli and juice. Juice is juice. Meira hafði ekki komist í bakpokan. More wouldn't have fit, or more didn't fit in the backpack. So meira, more, hafði ekki, hadn't, or had not. Komast in, or komast í means to fit in, or like make it inside. Komist í bakpokan. Ég settist á rúmið og raðaði matnum í kringum mig. Þarna ætlaði ég að vera þar til þeim snerist hugur. So I sat on the bed and organized the food around me. I was going to stay there until they changed their minds. Ég settist, so að setja, which means to put down, right? To set down. Að setjast, like that. Setjast means to sit down, to set yourself down. I have a whole video on the middle voice, that ST at the end. It's a very unique thing. So go check out that video if you're confused, but it means to set yourself down, to sit. Á rúmið, there's that word again, room, bed. This time we're using the accusative form because we're talking about sitting down onto the bed. So there's movement. Að raða means to line up, or like to put into rows, or like to organize. Raða matnum, to organize the food. Í kringum mig means around me. And í kringum, that's a preposition or a prepositional phrase, or like two prepositions, I guess, but it's always followed by accusative, which in this case, mig, me. Þarna, there, ætlaði, there's that verb again, ætla, to intend. I intended to be. Þarna ætlaði ég að vera, þar til, until. Þeim snerist hugur. This is kind of a fixed expression. Snúast hugur means to change minds, and it's an impersonal verb. The mind was changed to them, þeim. Þeim is the dative form. And it has a very interesting past tense, snerist, as you can see here. Okay? Jafnvel þótt ég kláraði nestið og myndi svelta dögum saman. Even though I would finish my food and starve there for days. So jafnvel þótt means even though. Oh, jafnvel þótt, yeah. Ég kláraði, there's that word again, klára, to finish. Nesti, it's kind of a unique Icelandic word. It means food that you've packed up, packed food. Like what you take to school, like in a lunchbox, or what you might take on a picnic, or camping, or if you're locking yourself in your room. Nesti. So even though I would finish my food and would svelta, to starve. And then dögum saman, that's kind of a fixed phrase to mean 4 days, many days. Okay, allt í einu hreyfðist hurðarhúnninn. Magga, hrópaði pabbi. Sá var hissa að geta ekki opnað dyrnar. Ég beið með að svara. Magga, hrópaði hann aftur. Allt í lagi með þig? Ég beit í eplið og velti fyrir mér hvernig ég gæti opnað baunadósina. Vonandi myndi verkfallið leysast sem fyrst, því ég hafði gleymt dósaopnara, sorry. Magga, hrópaði pabbi í þriðja sinn. Ég kem fram þegar þið hættið við að flytja, annars verð ég alltaf hérna. Okay. So ég beið, let's go to the very top, how about? Allt í einu, that means all of a sudden. Allt í einu hreyfðist hurðarhúnninn, að hreyfast. This is the past tense of að hreyfast, which means to move, hreyfast. And then hurðarhúnninn, we've seen the word hurð, which means door. And húnn means the handle, like the door knob. So hurðarhúnninn is the doorknob. Magga, so I guess I should translate the whole sentence. All of a sudden, the door handle moved. Magga, my father shouted. He was surprised that he couldn't open the door. So, hrópa, there's the word again, hrópa, to shout. Sá, meaning that one, masculine. I think I made a video about Sá. If I haven't, I should. That one was surprised. Hissa, surprised. Doesn't change for masculine and feminine. Hann var hissa, hún var hissa. Við vorum hissa. I love it. It's called an indeclinable adjective. Sá var hissa að geta ekki, to not be able to, geta, be able to, not opna, or opnað, because it's past participle, and dyrnar. He was surprised to not be able to open the door. Ég beið með að svara, I waited to answer. Beið is the past tense of bíða, to wait. I waited to answer. Magga, hrópaði hann aftur, allt í lagi með þig? So Magga, he shouted again, after, again, allt í lagi með þig? Allt í lagi, I'm sure you've run into this one by now. Allt í lagi. Okay, is everything in good order? With you, með þig. Is everything good with you? Ég beit í eplið og velti fyrir mér hvernig ég gæti opnað baunadósina. I bit into the apple and wondered how I would be able to open the can of peas. So ég beit, that's the past tense of að bíta, to bite. Að bita í, to bite into. Eplið, the apple. Og velta, að velta fyrir sér means to wonder or to contemplate. So I contemplated, or I considered, how, hvernig, ég gæti opnað. I could or would be able to open baunadósina, the bean can, or the can of peas. Vonandi myndi verkfallið leysast sem fyrst, því ég hafði gleymt dósaopnara. Hopefully the strike would resolve as soon as possible, because I had forgotten the can opener. Vonandi means hopefully. Myndi verkfallið, would the strike. Leysast means to be solved or to resolve. Sem fyrst is kind of a fixed expression, means as soon as possible. Því, there's því again, meaning of því að, because. Ég hafði, I had gleymt. Að gleyma, to forget. Gleyma, gleymt dósaopnara, so dósaopnari, can opener. Magga hrópaði pappi í þriðja sinn. So Magga, pappi shouted for the third time. Ég kem fram þegar þið hættið við að flytja. So this is her responding. I'll come out when you decide not to move. Annars verð ég alltaf hérna. Otherwise, I'm staying here forever. So ég kem fram. Að koma fram means to come out, to move toward the outside of the house. Koma fram. Þegar, when, you stop. Þið hættið við. Remember, hætta við, to stop. Stop moving. Annars, we've seen that one before. Otherwise, verð ég, I must. Verða, to become, but also must. I must, sorry, actually that's not what it means here. I apologize. Annars verð ég alltaf hérna. So here, verða means to stay, which is one of the other meanings of verða. Go watch my video on verða, but it means a lot of things, and one of them is to stay in a place. So otherwise, I will stay here forever. Alltaf, always. Okay. This is the last page of the chapter. Ha, hváði pappi, hvað ertu að tala? Ég vil ekki flytja. Láttu ekki svona, Magga. Þú átt að koma fram og bursta í þér tennurnar. Nei. Jæja, þá næ ég í þig, sagði pappi. Hann opnaði dyrnar með skrúfjárni. So, ha, hváði pappi, hvað ertu að tala? Huh? Said Dad, what are you talking about? So, ha. This is such a great Icelandic word. Ha, and you don't say it like huh, like we do. That's what we say in English. Like when you want to say, like when you don't hear something, you say huh, and it's like a question mark, huh. But in Icelandic, they just say ha, and that means huh. So it's like I didn't hear you. I want you to repeat. So ha means huh, and then að kvá is like to say huh, like it's when you don't hear something, you kvá. It's like to say what. Kind of a weird word. So, hvað ertu að tala? What are you talking about? About what are you talking? Ég vil ekki flytja. We've seen all these words. Vil is the present tense of vilja. I want not. I don't want to move. Okay, láttu ekki svona, Magga. Þú átt að koma fram og bursta í þér tennurnar. Don't be that way, Magga. You need to come out and brush your teeth. Láttu ekki svona is a great phrase. Láttu ekki svona. Don't behave like that. That's the verb láta. So if you're talking about in plural, like to multiple people, you say látið ekki svona. Þú átt, that's the present tense form of eiga, to have to. Þú átt, you should or you need to. Koma fram, come out, right? Koma fram means to come toward the outside of the house. Og bursta, brush, í þér tennurnar. Brush your teeth. Using body parts and using like í þér, the teeth in you, is like a super weird thing with Icelandic. The best places I've seen it explained is on the Icelandic Made Easier website by Sikki. He explains the body parts really well, but when you talk about body parts in Icelandic, it's really confusing. I can't spend this whole video talking about it. It's weird. But you get used to it. So, nei, no. Jæja, þá næ ég í þig, sagði pappi. So, jæja, that means a lot of things, but it can just mean well, or like, kind of thing, like, well, I'm gonna come get you, said pappi. So þá means then. Að næ ég í þig, that's what we were looking at earlier. Að ná í, to come and get, to come and fetch. I'm going to come fetch you, said pappi. Hann opnaði dyrnar með skrúfjárni. He opened the door with a screwdriver. Skrúfjárn. Oof, I did not type that right. Skrúfjárn. Screw iron, I guess. Screwdriver. That's the end of the chapter. If you want to know what happens next, you'll have to go read the next chapter. Maybe I'll make a video about it. I don't know. It depends on if people even like this video. It's been long. I'm interested to see if people even watch it. I hope this was helpful. Reading is super helpful. Over the past year or two, I've really been trying to do a lot more reading in the languages that I've been studying, and it's been immensely helpful because you see how the sentences come together. Like the inversion thing, right? Like, it's kind of hard to explain inversion, but when you see it like 1,000 times, eventually it starts to make more sense to you. And especially, hopefully the video was helpful because it's helpful when someone points it out. Feel free to leave me questions. I'm really interested if this was helpful or not. If anyone's still watching, leave comments. That's really helpful for me to know whether this stuff is good, whether I should do it again, or whether it was just a total failure. So let me know. Thank you for watching Icelandic for Foreigners. I know it's been a while. Life is crazy, but I do miss making videos, so maybe I'll get back into it. That's the hope. Anyway, have a good day, og við sjáumst. Bless.